And boom, we are live. Hello and welcome everybody to the Wide World of Warhammer. With us today is only fortunately one of our guests, but he's a beautiful guest nonetheless. Ollie Johnson, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Sam. Thanks for having me on.
No worries at all. No worries at all. Unfortunately, I can't see your beautiful face right now, but that's okay. I've got a vivid imagination and memory of what you look like, so all's well.
Just picture a beautiful Votan warrior standing atop, defiant with his plasma sword.
The High Carl himself.
The High Carl himself.
Majestic and beautiful. Unfortunately, Josh Brodie is just running a little bit late, but hopefully he should be on any minute now. So, but we'll get things rocking and rolling. So, for people who may have never heard you, Ollie, do you mind introducing yourself? And I guess, what's your role in Team Australia as a whole?
Yeah, of course. So name's Oliver Johnston. I've sort of been playing competitive Warhammer in the beginnings of 9th edition, COVID lockdown, and the moment COVID lockdown sort of got up, seeking some sort of hobby that allowed me to interact with a person, and found myself in 40K, as I'm sure many people can relate to. I've got the great honor of being the coach for one of the four coaches for Team Australia this year.
Hell yeah. And you're the sole representative of the great state that is Queensland, and the best state, right?
Yes, of course. The great Queensland state. There was another player, unfortunately, local legend and a good friend of mine, Will Milton, was a player, but unfortunately, due to just the nature of life, had to unfortunately step back. But yeah.
Yeah, it was sad to hear. Obviously, Will's supposed to be returning as a player, but unfortunately had to step down due to personal reasons. And we'll talk to Josh, who I guess due to the good fortunes, have got the chance to attend now as a player in replacement of Will Milton. So, Ollie, I guess so. Maybe can you introduce ourselves? So this would be, I guess, for people who are unaware, this is going to be a series of podcasts. Myself will be doing with the Wide World of Warhammer, to introducing, I guess, a bunch of the various players and coaches who are forming part of the Team Australia squad for this year. So this year's campaign in 2024. So starting off with Ollie and Josh Brodie, because they're, I guess, beasts in the East, as I like to colloquially call them. And they're quite remote from the rest of the players. So, but for Ollie, so do you mind just telling the people who have maybe never heard of the WTC or Team Australia, what the fuck you guys are on about, and what the hell is this?
Yeah, so obviously, I think a lot of people this podcast and its coverage and stuff, the WTC is sort of the Olympics of Warhammer. It's international sort of event, and being part of Team Australia, I get to say that I'm now an international athlete, which has still not gotten old yet. But no, I think Australia, I think we have an incredible community, and I think incredible players, and we've done incredibly well. Both last year coming third and the year before that actually winning the first ever WTC. So I think Australia has a great track record, and hoping to do the same and podium and hopefully win it this year as well. I think we come up as Australia sort of this side horses. We're not part of sort of the European conglomerate. We're not as boisterous as the Canadians and Americans and stuff, and it's a very expensive trip for all the lads to make, but it's a fantastic one to make.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as you said, Australia's got a very good track record of the WTC, coming first in the inaugural year and then third last year. And it's a big 8-man teams event. And look, I'm sure you're ready and rolling to try and podium again, if not win the whole damn thing. So, but no, obviously this year's going to be a lot more, it's fair to say, challenging than prior years, having obviously a lot of your veteran players and very globally renowned players not unfortunately attending this year, but we'll touch on that maybe a bit later on. And glad to hear that you're now an international superstar, Ollie, and an international athlete. I thought all those TTS tournaments and leagues would sort that out for you, but now you get some proper recognition, right?
No, exactly. I think this is it. This is where I get my stardom. I'll get the wheeling and dealing with Innis and all the stature crew in person. They'll just see in person how much of a superstar I am now.
Yeah, now you have to live up to all your hot takes on your various discords and stuff like that. So, oh, fantastic. So, I guess a question for myself is: so, what made you want to be part of Team Australia and attend the WTC?
So I think I love to inspire to be good at the hobby, in an interesting way. Like I love that I've had the honor of being part of Team Australia, but I think what motivates me more than anything is I just love being good at Warhammer. Like it's very nice for me to be like, I'm just good at this game and I can compete on this level and I can be supportive in that area. And going to WTC and going to the event, the first time I've ever internationally traveled for a tabletop toy soldiers competition. And so I think that's been a massive inspiration to go for it. Like ever since seeing, like hearing of WTC as a thing and being very privileged being in Queensland, Eric, Liam, these big names in that sort of space, being sort of close with them, seeing at tournaments, seeing that, this is going to WTC is much more achievable a goal than like it truly seems, as this like only 8-man team, only like once a year, like all the way in Europe and stuff. I think being in proximity of a lot of these great players made it feel like it was more achievable and more inspiring to sort of go and do it.
Yeah, that sounds great. So, and very fair. So you touched on there. So, and I'll obviously alluded to before. So you're unfortunately the sole representative of Queensland attending this year. So what does it mean to be, obviously Queensland being quite a powerhouse state in years past, and in the wider Australian meta have like some of Australia's finest players in Queensland, if not the finest. Well, I should say the finest, right? Being a native Queenslander now, but I'll try to be politically correct and very diplomatic. So what does it mean for yourself, obviously, being a representative of Queensland on Team Australia? Does it give you like great pride and joy, or does it make you nervous? Like, how does it make you feel?
It sort of is just a feeling is the best way I can describe it. Like I have pride in Queensland, but I see like WTC is one of those, like, it is an international team, right? We have players from, Josh Brodie from New South Wales. We have like Lockie, Jordan, and Callum and Adam, all from WA. Jeremy, Solly, and Dean from Victoria. It's very much all over Australia. And so I think I really don't see myself as representing like Queensland at the WTC. I definitely see it as I'm representing Australia. As for like why Queensland, like there aren't other Queensland players, I've got no comment on that. Like I applied, I wanted the position, and I fought for that. And I also think it's a case of there's a lot of reasons that go into this decision. We unfortunately don't have the privilege of just doing a road trip up to Belgium. It cost us like a bit of chump change to get the hotel and play and all of that. Like this is a large commitment, and spending all the money, the time training, especially in all these different locations. Obviously, you want to do super well, and we always try and pick the best players that apply. And of course, sort of, I think it's sort of the sentiment of people might think that we aren't taking the very best of the best, but I think we've taken some incredible players, and you can't always just take your Erics and Liam back to back every year, have them spending tens of thousands of dollars on it. Eventually, they're going to need a break. They're definitely going to need, time away, or you've got to get fresh blood and stuff, and it's just a bit more costly being in Australia, where having the fresh blood costs like $5-6 grand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think by no means, Ollie, I think you diplomatically answered that well. I don't think by any means yourself getting chosen is a reason why no other Queenslanders attended. You earned that spot. There's nothing but hard work on your own part. So nothing wrong with that. So, and look, life gets in the way for many players. And look, this isn't our full-time careers by any stretch of the imagination. It costs us a lot of money to go. So it's all good. You mentioned there, though, Ollie, that about, I guess, the time and practice and preparation for the WTC. So what sort of been, maybe give like an oversight, so since you've been joining the team, what have been some of the things that you've had to do, and maybe like a behind the scenes look?
Yeah, so I think from my perspective, as a coach, I've tried to sort of be across a lot of sort of discussions. When the team wants to talk about sort of lists, I've always tried to make it a point of engaging. Maybe if I don't know what the list does or why they pick certain things, just ask them questions or why have you gone with this unit? Have you thought of that? And typically everyone that, they put up a list like, oh, this is why I've done this, and here is my game plan. And, all the players have that idea. They know what they're doing. But I think that's probably the best thing as like being this coach, not being able to practice with them in person, is trying to make all the events I can where they're there and have that rapport, but also just trying to engage on every list discussion, prompt ideas, and at least if anyone else sees those chats in the various like Discord channels we have, that they might get insight as well.
Yeah, sure. So when you're talking about, I guess, the wider tournament meta, are you talking about yourselves? Like, are you like, I guess, asking questions about yourselves and sort of being, I guess, that demon on the shoulder, or that playing that devil's advocate, or are you talking about the wider global meta?
I think I'm more trying to talk about, I guess, the global meta. Like we're definitely across like other tournaments that go on. Surprise, surprise. There's a 3-man team. Like an immediate example, there's a 3-man team event in Poland going on. So we look up through 20 keepers, see like what are they doing? What are their insights? Like, so we're definitely sort of keeping track of that and all that. I think probably the biggest thing is more like if someone wants to change the list or add something or do something, it's more like rather than letting players just go, oh, this is what I'm doing. Cool. It's like, oh, but why are you doing that? Like, let's just like have that discussion, have that follow thought, and all of that. And obviously, it's if I was in person, it's much easier to go, let's have a game, let's like test all that sort of stuff. But as someone who's obviously in Queensland, I only get very few interactions in person with them outside of boot camps and stuff that we're doing. That's sort of been my main goal, and trying to be supportive in a lot of those choices.
Yeah, sure. So you mentioned there, so obviously being remote and like, look, obviously it's a couple of 100 kilometers away from the next person, which would be the amazing Josh Brodie, and then even further away from the rest of the crew. Speaking of which, here is the man, the myth, legend himself, Mr. Josh Brodie. So how do you sort of try and stay connected? Is it just through the boot camps, and is it just constant messenger Discord chats, essentially, Ollie?
Yeah, I think it's definitely group chats. It's Discord messages. There's sort of like fortnightly to weekly sort of calls that everyone jumps on and has those sort of discussions. And then I think a lot of players are sort of doing their own thing, like testing and updating. Like, oh, I've played these games and this is what I'm doing so far. And everyone's sort of keeping just that communication flow up until we all get to do boot camps and all get to come together, and then it's like, all right, here's 6 games in a day, like bash it out, like really try and figure things out.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fair. That seems intense. Oh, we lost him. Damn, that's
we missed the one opportunity.
The IT gods have got him, so we'll get there. We'll come back to it. So, what I was going to ask. So, in the chat we have the man, the myth, the legend, Dale Sumner. So. Obviously, you iterated there about, I guess, the success of the Team Australia in years past. So, and noting the large player turnover. So, is there like an idea in mind in the camp of what a good result may be, or are we only chasing for gold?
I think there is. I think in that regards, we always sort of want to, to go there and win it. I definitely agree. Like, you don't want to just go like, we're just going to come X and that all stuff, but there is realistic expectations. I think like coming top 5, podiuming is like a real big goal that we want. No one is under the illusions that like the USA looks really good and is the favorite for many people. And obviously, every team thinks they're in it to win it, and Australia is no different. But I think realistically, we do have a bunch of new attendees, a bunch of people who are fresh to this level of competition and stage. So I think still aiming for top 10, top 5 position, maintaining that top seed sort of bracket is going to be quite achievable and definitely like a really, really happy result. I also think, the one thing to add is, I think as long as all the guys are happy with their play, we all gave good rounds, we're all in it, and no one's getting stomped or anything. I think we'll all be very happy with the results.
That's pretty fair, and that's good to hear that. Obviously, look, even though many people say like it's a rebuilding year or you're taking a step back, you're not, or the whole team as a whole is not taking that approach, and you're looking to maintain and establish that top seed dominance, which is great to hear. So it's like, hooroo, so let's go.
Yeah.
So I guess I wanted to ask a bit more about how have you found the process of being in Team Australia versus like your other team tournaments? So I know obviously you're part of the Team Queensland Mercs last year for the ANZTC, and obviously being part of multiple teams in various team events formats. So what has this process been like in Team Australia versus them? Have they been a lot more intense, or has it been different overall?
It's been slow. Is I think the biggest thing. I think people that go to teams and all this other stuff, like even when you sort of like the ANZTC, like teams are sort of formed in like your December, like those sort of areas. That cool. It's like just a little bit away for ANZTC, but here it is. I think the WTC is sort of been slow and methodical, and a data slate, we're going to rechange it, and then now Pariah Nexus, like cool, throw out everything else we've sort of been doing. And I think it's sort of been slow and building up, but I can definitely feel the pressure of ramping up to when we get closer. Obviously, a lot of people. Oh, sorry.
No, you're okay. You're okay. I'm sure like time is of a premium right now. So, Josh, can you hear us okay now? Have you joined us?
Can you hear me? I can hear you guys.
We can hear you loud and clear. The Alpha Brodie is in the house. Is now again. So, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Yourself?
Very well, thank you. Glad you could join us. And so, I guess, so people who aren't aware, so Josh, do you mind introducing yourselves? I know obviously you're a big favorite in the New South Wales community, but for those who live outside New South Wales, maybe who haven't heard about you, introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm just Joshua Brodie, pretty much near Sydney. I've basically been playing 40k for about 19 years now. That one's pretty much been going since 4th edition. Haven't taken a step yet, so still going strong and enjoying the game.
Hell yeah, that's what we love to hear. So, and I was alluding to the alpha of the Brodies. Is Jeremy's definitely the Omega or the subpar Brodie, right?
Oh, definitely. I've got all the trophies. He's just got the looks, right?
Oof. Fair enough. So we'll touch on that a bit later. So Josh, we talked to Ollie previously about obviously getting to be part of Team Oz, and I know for you it was a bit maybe later than the others. So what was that feeling? So you joined the squad as a player. Unfortunately, after Will Milton had to step down, but what was that, I guess, announcement like? Was it like a big surprise? Because I know that was something you've been working towards for a number of years.
Yeah, so like I was at the first point when the team was selected, I was a bit disheartened. I can definitely say that, as we all would be. But looking at getting a second opportunity, I was pretty much ready to go at it. Like obviously, what happened to Will, we were all sorry and hope everything's okay. But look, I appreciate this opportunity to represent our great nation.
Hell yeah. And you get to represent even the subpar state of New South Wales as well. So I have to say that on Queensland Origin night. Okay, Josh, it's okay. I love all you guys in New South Wales, but it's Origin night. So we've got to have some Queensland versus New South Wales rivalry.
We'll give you that one today, Sam.
Give you that one for today. So I guess a question for yourself, Josh. How have you found the process on your end? Obviously, you're quite distant. So Ollie would be the next person who's closest to you, who's part of the Team Australia camp, with, I guess, the rest of the Vic boys and WA boys being quite a distance away. So how have you sort of found the process in preparing for this Team Oz campaign?
Yeah, so like I've been doing a fair bit of traveling. So I did travel to Melbourne for an RTT to see the crew and everything. We had a bit of a boot camp up in Perth as well, so that was another quite adventure. And like most weekends, I've been trying to play like ex Team Oz players like Chris Wright and Alex the Greek, just trying to get those reps in with the army and into different factions.
Hell yeah! Look at you. I mean, that might be the furthest travel I've ever heard someone go to an RTT. That is quite a haul. What's that, like a solid 6.5 hour drive? 7 hours?
I flew that one, so it was only an
Okay.
hour and a half flight.
Oh, only an hour and a half flight for an RTT. So that's quite the commitment. But kudos to you. And that's, I guess, some of the, I guess, unfortunate realities of being part of Team Australia. It's quite a distance to travel. So I guess you mentioned there, Brodie, you have to practice against a bunch of Team Oz players as part of your preparations. Has there been anything else that's been part of the process that maybe that's a surprise to other team events? Because I know obviously you're part of Team New South Wales in prior years and other state teams. Like, has there been a big learning curve that you've found being part of Team Oz?
I think it's just more it's a lot just a lot more to take in. Got to be really a lot more careful what we're doing or saying to a lot more other people with our ideas or tech or anything. But also like the camaraderie between everyone and all the states is also trying to be pretty good to try and line up between obviously half the teams in WA and half's in Victoria. So it's also trying to line up those time differences to communication when we're all pretty much on the right page.
That makes sense. And look, have you cut off communications with the Omegon Brodie and your dad? I know you're quite the gaming family, so it's a secret container. The Brodie Crusade campaigns can't continue.
Oh, that's always continuing that. There's no change in that.
Yeah. So for people who aren't aware, the Brodies are a gaming household, just weekly Crusade games, as I understand, with the younger brother, older brother, technically, and then your
Younger.
dad. Younger brother, okay, younger, but
Yeah.
the subpar brother. So that's good to hear. Well, at least not everything's shut off, sealed, and tight, unlike some other WTC teams. It sounds like. So I'll hand it over to you, Ollie. So you mentioned, I guess, quite a while back, the Prior Nexus just threw everything up into the air. So what has been the process for Team Oz since Prior Nexus has been officially released? I guess.
I think the process is it's been a lot of testing, just like taking the list that we already had. And it's like, well, does this work? Let's sort of tweak that a bit. And then like getting in those reps. And I think there's been a lot more experimentation of just what is now possible. Because obviously it's shaken up so much. And, a lot of our factions have been able to stay the same. And a lot of factions have had to be changed, as I'm sure a lot of people are going through. But it's very good having the 12 sets of eyes on all the rules. So it's like, oh, actually rereading it, did everyone realize that this is how the pivot rule works? Or, hey, Vec does this now, and actually Vec is sort of a bit crazy on certain models, as people found out, if you can sit the model in the middle of the table and no one can armor of contempt. And so I think it's very good having that sort of network of everyone's testing it, everyone's finding things, and rather than just one person having to like slowly dig through it and all that, it's like everyone's getting all the pieces together.
Yeah, that sounds good. So what does it look like? I guess so. I hand it over to Josh now. So what is this process? Obviously, without revealing too many trade secrets, but look, it's early on with the Prior Nexus and with your respective armies or whatever. What does it look like for you? Is it just getting games in and trying to understand how Prior Nexus works, or is it refinement in some ideas for yourself?
Look, I feel it's a bit of both. Like, obviously, Prior Nexus, a fair few of the secondaries slightly changed. There's a few other ones that go for both player turns now, so you've got to keep that in mind in your list design. I also feel that some parts of the core rules definitely changed, so we have to adapt to that as well. Like most of I'd say some of the lists, the core concept changed, but we stayed the same, sorry, but then some parts changed. Not giving away too much, but a couple of things may have been tweaked a bit. And what Ollie was saying, more eyes on certain of our factions, just to try and get that one through and try to learn the mission pack as quick as we can.
That's pretty fair. So you talked about there, Brodie, about your selecting your factions. Look, I'm not going to ask what you're playing, what your list is, obviously, but for people who obviously are aware of you, you have quite the collection, to say the least. You have quite a few factions available at your disposal. So how was it like selecting, I guess, a faction to focus on, or was it something the team were you able to sort of pick and choose it a little bit?
Yeah, well, like with having every faction in the game with my hands, it's quite a array of opportunity. But it was more what the team needed. I'm known mostly for faction hopping. So like it kind of fit into that role for what the team needed, and there was a hole basically in the team, and I pretty much just jumped in to take that one. And look, been going quite well so far, getting decent results with what I chose and what needed. So it seems to be working well for the team lineup.
Damn, it's Ages of the Imperium. I knew it. Pure Ages of the Imperium. That's what Mr. Brodie's running.
Our results coming at you.
I knew it all along. Well, secret text guy, I'm sorry. But so Ollie, so you talked previously, so you're a coach and you're doing like the list analysis and stuff like that. So, but how are you sort of helping in sort of the, I guess, faction analysis? Is there sort of like some certain factions that you're responsible for, like, I guess, dissecting and knowing the ins and outs of, and like, I guess, being the warm body specialist, or is this not really?
Yeah, there is that sort of process. I think it is one of the unfortunate situations for me in that some of my more factions that I am like focusing on aren't particularly great at the moment. They're not sort of like powerhouses. But I think everyone sort of has like we did go through the team, and every sort of member was given sort of like a couple primary factions, like, you know, all the players with guns on. So what's your secondary faction, and sort of keeping tabs on that. As I sort of said at the start, like with the high Carl sort of jokes, one of my main factions is Votan. And so I think a big role there is that I'm cooking up 100 Votan lists because that's all I do is I drive myself insane with it. But I think my biggest role there is trying to dissect any Votan lists that sort of come up from other teams' events, and like, this is how it's working, this is what it's trying to do. And I have a couple other factions as other players that are sort of doing the same. It's all sort of just trying to build that, like, do we want this sort of factions doing this? And I think especially, you know, I think we will see some teams that bring Votan. We will see some teams that bring some pieces. And I think having that knowledge at least helps the team in at least the pairings process, whether we bring them or not, of like, cool, this is what it's trying to do. We can practice it and all of that sort of stuff. And I think beyond that, especially at boot camps, it's more going to be about just jumping on any faction, seeing how like practice rounds are going, and just repping and giving players like, you know, as many reps as they possibly need.
Yeah, sure. So you touched on there about the boot camps, and I'm going to ask you, Brodie. So obviously we saw the social media posts of Team USA fighting at their boot camps and doing some MMA sparring, I guess, instead of playing 40K. But so what does, like, I guess, a typical Team Australia boot camp look like? So for the ones in the future, like, what maybe could it look like for people who aren't aware?
Look, it's mostly we'll get all 12 of the players and coaches and at a certain location. We'll bring our lists, we'll bring other lists, or usually once lists are unlocked, we'll bring some of the enemy opposing team lists, and we'll just basically just nut them out, like, you know, 1, 2, 3 turns, see what our list can do, try and get a more accurate representation for our data, and just basically really just nut down and collect all that data as many games we can.
Yeah, that sounds great. I love how you said undisclosed location, Brodie. Their enemies, like, this sounds like a psyop that's going on right here. Some action, military action going on. There's some cute operations going on. That's fantastic. I love it. So it's very serious, as we could tell in Team Oz camp. But for what isn't, right, with WTC?
That's exactly right.
Absolutely. So, Brodie, to yourself. So I know Ollie's playing in the War Masters, and I'll ask him some questions about that. But the WTC campaign as a whole is a big endeavor. So are you looking to play in the War Masters as well?
Yep, I just bought my ticket last night, so I'm pretty keen. Look, even if I don't do well as what I could. It's more just playing other players that I would never have a chance to play before, and just enjoying the. I think it's up to over 450 players now, so one of the biggest events I would have attended.
Hell yeah! One of the biggest? What would be a bigger event, or have you had the chance to travel overseas?
No, this would be the first time overseas. So the only biggest events, like I'd say, Uprising was about 200
sure.
players. So
yeah,
pretty much like double and a half that for
Yeah.
what the War Master is. So
I think War Master is 450 now. So
yeah, wild.
yeah,
Absolutely wild.
yeah. I think they've got a cap of 512. So I think they're looking close to hitting about 470. So yeah,
it's pretty incredible. So is there? I guess so. Going over there, I'll hand it over to you, Ollie. So I know you've signed up for the War Masters. You're ready and keen. Is there any like particular, I guess, people you want to play against, or like certain nations you want to meet?
I don't think there's any particular. There's a bunch of people I want to meet. Unashamedly, like I listen to a lot of like stat check, like people like Anthony Vanilla and Ennis and Jeremy and Nathan are all like actual like big inspirations, and being able to play and meet them is actually like pretty would mean a lot to me. But from there, I think it's just meeting different people. Like we always talk about, like, I love traveling interstate, different metas, different people there and stuff, and this is just that to the nth degree, right? Being able to now play against people from Austria, Poland, France, like Canada, like all sorts of people, like massively different metas, like country defining metas now get to experience and meet all these people and hopefully make like a ton of new friendships. That they go all the way overseas and all into all sorts of different time zones.
Yeah, amazing. How about yourself, Brodie? Any particular countries you would like to play against, or people you'd like to meet?
Oh, look, I'm happy to trying to meet as many people as I can. But look, I'd probably be a bit cliche here. I'd probably say the US. Nick Nanavati's been a big, huge inspiration for me in my early days. So that would be one off the bucket list to tick off, I would say. And look, any of like Poland, UK, even the Scots, got a Scottish background, so that would be that'd be great to meet Ennis and the rest of the team.
Hell yeah. So, look, I know the cliches don't meet your heroes, but I think you should be okay with the Warhammer folks. I'm pretty sure that they'll be all right. So, that Scary guy might be a bit of a dickhead. I've heard rumors, but I'm kidding. So,
rumors are he's not there this year. So,
that's true. Well, you can't meet the dickhead then, so it's okay. Yeah. So everyone is saved. Ridvan's fine. I'm sure Ridvan's a lovely human being in real life. So I've heard nothing but pleasant things, honestly. So I guess so. Handing it to you, Ollie. So obviously a tradition, and you weren't here before, Brodie, but Ollie's now an international athlete, and you'll soon be as well. So a very, I guess, cultural norm for many sporting endeavors is the exchanging of the jersey. So over to you first, Ollie. Is there a certain jersey that you're looking to exchange with and add to the collection of framed and signed jerseys, I'm sure?
No, I don't think there's a particular jersey. I'm unfortunately a little bit on the extra side, so I think finding a jersey will probably be the biggest thing. I think I definitely want to get just any jersey of like Poland and USA and those sort of like big teams, and just have a collection. I'll definitely teams that have the very colorful shirts. Definitely have my eye on those because those are all really fun. But I think befriending someone and having like good camaraderie and being able to swap shirts like that will mean a lot there.
Hell yeah, that sounds amazing. How about yourself, Josh? You listed off a couple of your idols. Is there a particular jersey or jerseys you're chasing after?
Look, it's more what Ollie said. The US or Poland would be pretty big. Again, pretty big inspirations. But like, I'm honestly happy to exchange with whoever I play. We'll have a great game and keep that memory for the rest of our lives. So.
Hell yeah, that sounds awesome. You mentioned there before as well, obviously going to the WTC, you can meet some of your idols or people you've talked online with, and here's some like obviously big name players in the scene. So starting with yourself, Josh, how are you going to, say obviously Team Australia play against Team USA, and look, we're going to win and we're going to beat them, but you have to play against, I guess, one of those like Art of War members, like you Nick Nanavati, you play against a hero of yours or an idol per se. How is it going to be like playing against someone like that, I guess, across the tabletop? Is it have you sort of thought about that process of playing someone? Or it would be quite intimidating, to say the least.
Look, it'll be a more like a first expression or impression sort of thing. Like, I feel pretty much comfortable playing anyone. Like, obviously there is a lot more stakes, but we've been doing just keep your mind and mentality and everything, and play the game how it is, and put that to the side once the game's finished. Once we're at the table, it's pretty much straight all the table. After that, we can do whatever. It's two different mentalities, I would say.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I've heard Ollie's actually practicing his shadow boxing and his world eater mentality, so you're just going to intimidate people, I understand. Is that correct, Ollie?
Absolutely. It's just act like an absolute animal, and then I hope people just make mistakes in their play, or they just want to leave the table as soon as possible.
Perfect. I love it. So, but how about yourself, Ollie? So, obviously, some of these stat check people who you've known about, and obviously the world-renowned, recognized players. How are you looking to approach playing at someone with like such a big name?
I think a big thing for me is sort of like very cliche, but very like breathing exercises in the way of like it just sort of taking a minute to understand that we're both playing the same game. No one has a secret codex. Secret like missions that allows them to score, like they're using the same rules that I know, and sort of doing that, and I think it's sort of the people. Obviously, I think the intimidation comes from like people with big names are typically the ones that are very good. Being someone in Queensland, going into a local RTT, and you can see Liam Hackett just across the room, and I sort of have to just grow through fire of like playing these sort of like a lot of like massively powerful people and all the time. So I think it's just sort of excess, like, they're just using the same rules I am, just going to have to outroll them. If I roll nothing but sixes, I can't lose.
There we go. I love it. Look, I'm not condoning that the Team Australia dice may be used as toilet dice, but look, if it naturally rolls it naturally rolls it, right? So it is what it is. And look, I know definitely Liam Hackett's soul pulse is very strong. So I can understand, obviously, having to outmuscle and outbeat him that way, because you can't beat him mentally. So you got to beat him somewhere else. This is fantastic. So I guess before we wrap things up and look to shout outs and plugs and stuff like that. So I guess this Team Australia campaign, look, obviously, it's still quite a bit to go, but I'm sure you both have learned quite a few things along the way. So starting with yourself, Josh, has there been anything that you've learned so far that maybe people would learn from, or that maybe you found quite different to your previous endeavors?
Look, I guess it's just a lot more like it's not more as much as say like a normal small 5-man team or something like this. This is pretty much representing what we represent for Australia. We've got to try our best. So obviously we're trying to do as much work and back behind the scenes as we can. So try and get that data as accurate as we possibly can to help our pairing partners, and learn our armies as much as we can, learn the ins and outs of that. So then once we find out, once lists are out, straight to crunching that data that we need to really help affect how the team performs.
Sounds good. How about yourself, Ollie? Has there been anything that you've learned that maybe someone listeners would learn or would appreciate understanding?
I think the biggest thing is sort of just the camaraderie of working like across all these differences and still like coming together and doing all this stuff, and like it is a huge honor. It is very expensive, but it is like a bucket list item to sort of do, and I think more importantly is that it is achievable. Like it's not just the sort of boys club sort of like style of thing. Like if you like, it requires effort, like going to events, making the right connections, like being out there and being known as just sort of like a guy that you want to hang out with and do all of that sort of stuff. Like I think is probably the biggest thing, and it really is just like a big coming together of the community, which is really awesome to be a part of.
That's fantastic, and it's great to hear. So, and look, obviously, both your hard efforts have paid off. And look, there's still a lot of work to be done between now and August, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of hours spent meticulously going over the list and thinking about those unit changes and weapon options. And I look forward to seeing how you guys go and perform over in Belgium. So, but starting with yourself, Josh, do you have any final plugs or shout outs you'd like to make?
Look, just basically Team Oz for actually having me on the team and trying to represent our great nation. There's obviously an Australian. We've got a raffle going for the team at the moment. I believe Sam has the links below, or we'll post those links somewhere. And there's about plenty, $6,000 worth of prizes. So we're pretty keen for that one to go to help us get over there and try and see what we can try and do. Podium would be nice, and we'll try and take out the other teams.
Hell yeah! How about yourself, Ollie? Any final plugs or shout outs?
I just no, the same plugs. The Oz raffle and helping supporting the boys will mean a lot for us. It's obviously an expensive trip, and the support of everyone's going to be so much. And just go out to your big tourneys, and hopefully you'll see some of the Oz players and stuff like that. I think I'm planning at least there's a 3-day event in November in Victoria that I'm going to try and attend, and it's just great to play Warhammer in the great nation of Australia.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm definitely getting my tickets here soon. There's some amazing prizes on offer there, like this whole army bundles for 1st through 5th or something like that. It's pretty wild. So look, I'm definitely buying my chance to win. Yeah, see how it happens. And look, if you could, I don't know, get me a free army or something like that, Ollie and Josh and the others because putting in a show, look.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say no.
We'll discuss it after.
Do you need more sisters, though, Sam?
Absolutely, you can't have enough, right? You got to have at least 4 of everything. I mean, because all these bloody other meta chasers need the help. So look, I'll lend out some armies and stuff like that. So it'll be fine. But look, also that beautiful
do that weekly.
Yeah,
do that weekly for the team.
When you have the Warhammer store of armies, Brodie, things happen, okay? So, look, you're not using all 26 or 27 armies at once, so... Or maybe you are, but I don't know.
Don't tempt me, I could.
Don't tempt me, he could. Fantastic. So, and look, even if I don't win one of those armies, those dice look pretty swell as well. So, I saw you use them over the weekend, Ollie, as you beat me meticulously, but we'll get there. So, we'll...
nothing but sixes. Nothing but sixes of those.
Nothing but kangaroos, man. That's all it is. Yeah. Kangaroos and sixes.
Hell yeah. So before we wrap things up, so just have some final plugs and shout outs. So obviously this is part of the Down Under 40K network. So if you'd like to support myself and other content creators or get early access to those New South Wales events, click on patreon.com /Down Under 40K. Sign up for $5 a month and you get early access to RTTs and little discount codes as well, which is amazing, and other Down Under 40K events. We also are sponsored by Tip Top Terrain. So they're the official terrain sponsor of the Down Under 40K circuit. They have amazing MDF terrain sets. You got a GW and a WTC layout. I've got the GW set myself, and it was to great effect of me going 3-2 at the ITA GT. Let's fucking go. I wouldn't have gone 3-2 if it wasn't for the terrain set. It definitely helped. I know it sounds jokingly, but it did help a lot, me getting decent enough practice with it. So can't help the player though, but I can definitely help the terrain. So my poor decision making is no fault of the terrain, that's for sure. Thirdly, so we got Emperor, so emperor.cc. If you have any terrain goodies that you, not terrain goodies, apologies, any hobby goodies you would like to purchase, they have 20% off GW stuff as well as various paints and hobby supplies. So go support them, and they help the network as well. And then last but not least, we've got Etsy with D6 Designs AU. So look, obviously the Team Australia Baron of Dice are great, but I think the D6 Designs AU Miracle Dice are even better. So in general dice, I mean, Ollie, you were definitely intimidated by my sister's dice, and they came from D6 Designs AU, and they look gorgeous and beautiful. Was. Absolutely. See, I knew it. Just you can tell by his facial expressions right now that you're.
I had to do an extra set of push-ups that round when I saw those dice.
The nails are biting for sure as part of the dice. So fantastic. And as I said at the start, so this is a series of shows. So obviously, thank you, Ollie and Josh, for having the inaugural set of 4 shows. I'm looking forward to the next couple. So we're talking to the WA lads, the coaches in Victoria with Dalton and Lawrence, and then obviously the experienced Vics in Dean and Jeremy Martino. So thank you very much, lads, Ollie and Josh, for this inaugural episode. Now we can all go off to watch the greatest game that is State of Origin. So hooroo, and support our representative states. So yeah, instead of talking about war dollies.
Thank you so much for having me on, Sam.
So good, thanks for having us.
No worries at all. Thank you everyone for listening, and have a great night. Take care, everyone.